we're at our property where we live now full time. About 4 to 6 months ago.
No, almost 6 months ago.
Almost 6 months ago, we stood here upon this great precipice and we did a ribbon cutting right here in between these trees. And this is kind of like a video to explain the progress that we've made over the past 6 months.
Homestead update.
Homestead update, and kind of go over the challenges we faced, the challenges we are still facing, and give a full homestead update tour to our place, because there's a lot of people, personal people that we know pretty good, they don't know what's going on, and we have been on purpose not showing the full array of what is going on until it has come to a point where we are happy sharing. I think we're kind of there. We still have some things that we don't have done. In fact, this whole land is the land of unfinished projects. And
I don't think it'll ever be done.
No, and that's the point. But you'll see, we're gonna walk through and do a full walkthrough, and we'll show you what we've done, what's not been completed yet, what the plan is. And before we start, I would like to challenge you to have a visionary mindset. Because some of this stuff looks rough. I mean, it looks rough, and it is. I mean, for the most part, we've been living pretty rough.
Off-grid living is no joke. Hats off to everybody that does that full time for even over a month. If you've done that, you know the struggle, and hats off to you guys. It's amazing. I cannot wait until we get electricity.
Yes.
I cannot wait.
And as it stands right now, we don't have electricity. We do have running water. Okay, we don't have electricity. So we'll go over all of that and how we live like that in a minute, but what I wanted to start with is the entrance. So we'll walk over here.
So where Jared is standing over was actually our very first project because it had to be, correct?
Yeah, so this is our culvert. This used to just be part of the ditch. We got this pipe and they put it in, and then we got something to put over the pipe, and literally it was a pile of shale about 6 feet tall, and I spread it. If you'll put the camera over there and show, I spread all this by hand. Well, over the past few months we've been having a lot of rainfall, a lot, and the water runs down the driveway and washes my shale into the culvert and down the ditch. So I have made these stone walls.
And what is it called, babe?
I think it's called the Dutch wall, because they're stacked in a way that they're solid. I mean, from the top down, they're wedged in there, and I put them in a way to where they won't move. There's no mortar, and you can see it ain't moving. When I kick it, it's not moving. It's pretty solid. That did move just there, but for the most part, it's solid. Over here on this side, we have the mailbox.
Perfect.
And I incorporated the wall. As you can see, it's still washing down, but that's from up top, and that's okay. I've incorporated the wall into the mailbox base, which is also a planter, and I made this out of cedar, and I made this
And stained it.
And
then I hand painted the mailbox.
And then the mailbox is hand painted.
Ready?
And then it's incorporated to the other side of the wall. And as you can see, the water does flow. It's all very functional. And this will lead us into the entrance of our property. So this is the front part. So if you'll show them, this is the entrance going in.
And this is the shale that he spread that was so tall.
And in fact, this tree I'm gonna have to cut out because it's in the way. And the goal will eventually be to incorporate this rock wall up this way into some sort of welcoming looking thing. Chastity has already made this here, but that's going to move a little bit probably. And then the gate for the property will stand probably about right here. Originally the idea was to have it all the way up there, but you know, you need to have a place to pull into, so that's the next part where we're going to put big fat cedar posts and make a big old beautiful gate. So that's the entrance, which leads you to this driveway.
Oh, bam, 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 bam.
This is our driveway. It goes up and to the right, which will be the pad side up there. This was cleared out by a bulldozer.
About a month into owning the property.
The original road up to where we were going to put our house was actually right here. This was all cleared out by hand. And if you'll see where I cut down trees and have been utilizing different methods to get rid of the stump. Now if you go up to the top, you won't see any stumps because the bulldozer just pushed them over, roots and all. But every stump that you see was hand cut by me and has remained.
Because they're boogers.
They're there. But you know, we both have nice lifted vehicles and it's not too much of an issue, but it is made for a bumpy ride. And then this is the biggest tree we took down, and I have burned it. I have used chemicals. I have drilled down into it to get rid of it. It's really not in the way, but it is dead center of this part right here. So coming in the driveway, coming up to this part right here, you have the shipping container on the left-hand side, and you have this on the right.
This alleyway.
And it's a big clearing. Now originally, what this was going to be was the place where we park our Winnebago. It was accessible, it was easy to get to, and it was for the most part already cleared. There was a few small trees going down. That way leads down to our creek. It's a wet weather creek, but it flows pretty much. Right now it's pretty much flowing all the time. But the future goal, we have since moved where we're going to put our Winnebago, and you'll see where it's at now. But this is now going to be utilized for planting and gardening, and
if family wants to come with RVs.
Yeah, it'll be open space for somebody else to park their RV. There is water hookup down there, a spout that I put in. Should we go over there and look?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if we come this way.
And here is another like load of shell that we just kind of like pull from and fill in certain areas. We were originally going to spread this and make it like completely level. But like Jared said, we changed our mind about where we wanted to put the Winnie. This was thorns, brush, briquettes, brackets,
okay.
All kinds of stuff through here.
So the water meter is down there in the blue box. The box in front of it is the housing to which is required for them to run water, which is your pressure regulator, other stuff. I put all that in. I put that no frost spigot in there.
And we have a video for that. Don't we have a video for
that video up, did I?
I think you did.
And then
we can't remember what we have.
And then I ran a ditch witch all the way up this hill up to the pad site, which you can just barely see the top of there, into the foundation, which is what that is going to eventually be. And this ditch, I mean, this white water line is a 1-inch PEX line that I ran in order to have water in the house, and it works.
And that was our second piece of heavy equipment that we used on the property.
The ditch witch.
The ditch witch. All right.
And that water will go into the house, and we actually have water running up there right now. and the water that runs into the RV runs from the spigot that is on the end of this white PEX line. And this should be buried, but I haven't done that.
Unfinished project.
Because it's unfinished, and it's a lot of work, and also...
What if we need to get to it?
We're not... We
don't want to have to uncover it.
Yeah, we're not completely done with this project yet, because if you'll see here, there are alcoves that I ditched out. See this and this? This is for a potential another spigot like that, so that we can have multiple ways of getting water down here other than just one, because if we're going to do planting and gardening, we need water available pretty much at every turn.
And what I've zoomed in on just now is that frost-free spigot that Jared was speaking of.
Yes, and I put that in. And then it's connected to a stake that goes down about, no joke, that stake is about 7 feet tall. There's about 4 feet that you don't see, so that doesn't move. I don't want that to move. And then it comes off of that, goes to a T. The T goes up this way to the PEX, which goes up the hill to the spigot, and that's plumbing. And then eventually, when I get the time, I will take the slack out of this PEX line and bury it proper.
Yep.
So that's water. Now, come on.
I wanted to interject that there's a little bit of a brushy, brambled area here. And when they were working with the Ditch Witch, our neighbor, shout out to Brad, thank you very much for Brad telling us this, he was like, we thought they were thorns, but they're actually wild blackberries. And so I don't want to cut down any more of this area. I want to leave it and see how many wild blackberry bushes we already have. I mean, because that's just nature doing its thing. Jared had mentioned using this area for gardening and things like that. Right now, what my little feet are walking on is a wildflower bed. What I'm doing is I'm starting it. This was all just leaves and natural compost from the forest floor over the fall and the winter. And I utilized it to throw out some wild flowers. And that is going to be my first organic growth on this area right here. Okay. And then here I'm doing a little bit of a will they, won't they. I buried some bulbs, some squash, some potatoes, some shallots, things like that in this little area. And I just kind of want to see, like, how freaking hard is it to garden just on the actual ground, because we've been told
anything grows here.
No. Oh, it's going to be so hard to grow.
Yeah. It's gonna be, well, we'll talk more about red clay, but
all right.
Everything grows here. Okay, so we're making our way back to the main driveway, and this is here, yet another unfinished project. This is a trailer that I was going to utilize because you need a trailer. Turns out this trailer, I don't know what it is. It's some Frankenstein. I bought it off Facebook. I added the metal grate. I haven't put it down on there yet, and it doesn't have a hitch on it, but I have one that'll fit that. But what this is an unfinished project, the tires of which are on top of the Winnebago because it keeps the roof from blowing off. But, talk about that in a minute. This has been sitting here for a while. I could put the original axle that came with it, the original tires, the original hubs and all that with it, and put it back on and make it pretty much usable. But it's been, I just left it here because I'm so, Red Hornet. I'm so angry with it, I stopped working on it and just left it. So here it sits.
And he promises me that this is not what's going to be here later.
It's a project. It's just low on the totem pole because we've been able to get by without having the use of a trailer. Look at that little hickory. Still hanging on.
Okay.
All right, moving on. So back to the road. And here sits our shipping container.
We call it the vault.
The vault. Now, the original location of this shipping container was literally right where I'm standing. It's set, pushed up to that lip of ground. When the dozer came, it was in the way. So he moved it to its current location now, which is pretty good location. I think eventually what I would like to do with it is turn it into some sort of shop for us. We have other dreams with it, but for the most part, it sits in a perfect location to be pushed further back away from the nice, which will, thinking visionary, which will eventually be a nice landscaped landscape, you know, with lovely things here. And it's kind of big, metal, and brown, which is okay. It's just not the look we're going for. And it's great. It has been great because it is waterproof, it is windproof, it is locked, and it is secure. It houses a lot of useful items for use, and we keep it here, and it's already been useful. So I don't want to get rid of it. I do want to keep it. I just want to move it out of the way, and maybe we'll continue. Chessie has painted some of it. We'll keep painting it to make it look pretty and cool, and I don't know, we'll insulate it, and maybe someday it could be like a little office, or, you know, people build out of shipping containers. It's not really a big dream of mine, but it's here and it's available, so we could use it for a future project. Once again, unfinished, but is usable.
Yeah, the whole unfinished aspect of it is because I thought that you could just spray paint it, and you know how like people paint on rollway cars. I was like, oh, that's gonna be so cool. I just spray paint it. Well, it dribbled down. I'm not professional spray paint person, could not do it. So me and my niece Mina did start the repainting process with actual paint. Okay. Tell them about your little ditch here. I mean, your little causeway here.
Okay, so when the pad site was created, this land, when water moves down our hill, it, you know, usually it would go into pretty natural path or wet weather creek. When the pad site was cut into it, it kind of disrupted all that. So this whole area is been changed and manipulated by us. With that comes water that moves through the mountain in ways that is very inconvenient for us. It is just doing its thing. I'm not angry with the water, but it does mean that we have to get creative in how it moves down. So this is here. These rocks are here. You put these rocks here, right? Mm-hmm. These rocks are here because Chessie put them here. But basically, this is a diversion. This is to keep the water from running on the driveway. Because when water runs on that driveway, it basically becomes ice. And I can't get up the hill.
Slippery, slippery, muddy mess.
She can get up the hill in her 4x4 Jeep, but I can't get up the hill. So, the water, if you see, the water's still running, okay? The water's still running. That's from rains in the past, because water runs. There's a lot of water that's moving through this land you cannot see because it's under the brush, it's in wet weather creeks, and it's moving down this hill. Well, it's continuing to move. So this is a few days after. If all this water was continuing to move down our driveway, it would be just a wet mess. As you can see, the driveway is dry. And that's because of efforts like this, where we have engineered waterways. If you look at that one right there, that's another waterway that I engineered. And basically, this is to keep the water that moves up there and comes down here, and it hits this little wall that I made, and then it takes it out that way and underneath the shipping container out to our ditch.
Sorry, the shadow's in the way. Sorry guys, trying to show you.
So this,
but yeah,
this wall I used wedge rock, and then I put dirt in the middle of it, and it's become its own little wet weather water feature here. And I'll show you at the top what that looks like. In order for this to be doing its job, you have to start all the way up at the top where the drainage ditch for the pad site is located. Okay, so now from the shipping container, which is behind me, up the driveway a little bit, there's our pad site. Just to the
left of the drive,
to this side of the shipping container, that part of the property, if you can see pretty well, it's pretty rugged.
it's completely untouched. You've walked through it a few times.
Yep.
Bunnies live there.
Deer move through there.
Deer moves through there. It is the border of one of our neighbors. Is what, maybe an acre or two over?
Oh no, it's further. That side of the property is actually
Bigger.
the larger side. Our property line is pretty close to this wet weather creek over here. There's much more property on that side, untouched, undiscovered.
I'm probably gonna end up putting a she shed over there, or we're thinking later on for like passive income, doing a yurt. And Jared also
You
wants...
can't have that area. That's my area.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
we continue to discuss this. One of us is gonna have a little hideaway.
Yeah.
Before the other one.
Maybe like a little cabin build over there, because it actually, there's actually a pretty good accessible path at the top of this hill that goes to that way.
Which will probably do our electric lines.
Which will probably be an electrical easement back over there, which is fine. But for the most part, we haven't messed with it. It's great. The only part we've really messed with would be the front left corner of our whole 10 acres.
And it's still been so overwhelming and still so big.
You really don't know. It's really hard to know how much 10 acres of wooded land is. You can look out and see 10 acres and go, oh yeah, 10 acres, especially if it's a pasture. But here, it's nearly impossible to get a good read on just exactly how much space you have. But all that to say,
we love it. We love it.
Yeah, we're very
grateful. We want to keep it as natural as possible for as long as possible. No reason dirtying it up with our ugly human footprint if it can continue to be, you know, a nature preserve in certain areas. Correct?
Right.
There you go.
And so, that's that side. Now I'm going to film Chas. She's going to explain it was at first our wood camp, our permanent
Base camp 1.
But it's our base camp 1, where we first camped, but it's also kind of taken on a new identity as like our grow and garden area.
Such an easy spot to get distracted. Okay, so these spots that I have flagged, I have certain little spots on the land until we get our fiber optic internet. I have to like still do the social media posts. We still have to be able to call our friends, call our family, things like that. So this is like one of my little spots. These later on will be goat playground, but it kind of marks the entrance of the garden area. This was originally base camp 1. We had made a little path, and for about 3 weeks we had a fenced in area where Jared did some aggressive fencing, wrapped this fence around like trees as the post, and made a safe haven for us. We did have a tent in here at one point, and then we did campfires, but it was mostly just a way to be here on the land, do a little work, do a little play, do a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight, hey! But I will say that very first night we were scared, boop, 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 okay? And now we were just thinking back on it. We were out here working 2 days ago at night, didn't think not once about it, and literally felt like we were in our own backyard. So over 6 months now, this has become very homey, a very comfortable area for us to hang out in. I have brought some of the things from home. Instead of decorating the inside of my house with these lovely things that were my mom's. I've decided to put them in the garden area. So we have certain little trees that we purposely saved, because isn't it so cute? Perfect little cedar. And then I have my compost bins. I have different compost bins for every single thing. I am going to tie these together, but this is an unfinished project. But these are working compost bins. This one is specifically ash with leaves. We have now incorporated bunny droppings, poop, whatever you want to call it. And so I have 3 different like ground, like basket compost bins, as well as one that Jared helped me make out of rough cuts of wood. And then we have, you guys will have to check out this build video on our YouTube. I think it's probably been about a month and a half to 2 months ago when you uploaded this one. Now this is a rotating compost bin. The compost bin was just fine before, and I was quite like, what the heck? What you doing with my compost bin? However, it's been really, really good because it gives me a way to turn it. And now this one is all food, very, very little leaves and things like that. And it is becoming compost tea. We're working on that. The hearth or the fire pit was something that we came up with the very first night or two, honestly, but now we're expanding it. It's going to look prettier. But this area has been very, very important for, number one, keeping like light, as well as I feel like it was a safety feature for me, just to have like a fire going, even if it didn't actually warm us up. Jared has a little cutting area. He has also batwood, and he can tell you all about that. He has some footage, but I think he's going to upload that later. More stuff for goats to play with. This is kind of our wood camp, like Jared said. It is an area that we play, we brainstorm, we hang out. At night, he strung some lights. He had got the idea from one of our neighbors whenever he went and hung out with them. And so it is a very cool little vibe up in here. And even though you see lots of rocks on here, these are the ones that have not been moved yet, and I'm cool with it. I feel like it's kind of a natural little path, and weirdly enough, I don't trip and fall on them anymore. But to think that I was almost falling down every few minutes the first couple of nights being here, but I think we've gotten our mountain legs. Jared made this platform. Y'all, this is just wedged on rocks.
Yep.
You know, he measured out the logs, wood, things, stuff. I'm sure he can tell you all about it. He does have some footage for it. And now he's decided, you know what, I don't know if I want my bush bath here, and move this area. So now, this might be a little outside tool shed, something. We don't know.
It's probably just going to be a little lean-to firewood shed, because
but you could also like make it a little outhouse.
Yeah, you can make it an outhouse, and there's a spot right there for the outhouse plumbing. It's just a little platform, and it was level. It has settled. However, what she was explaining was the rocks and the wood, before there was any screws in the structure, it was stable. It won't move. That's just the use of the weight and the wedge method that I do. There's your phone. And it was just kind of an experimental little thing to see if the wood would stay. And it has not moved a single inch. It has sunk a little where the water has run.
Far corner here.
But there's a way to fix that, utilizing the car jack method. But in the meantime, I think I'm just going to use it as a little outdoor wood shed for us to dry firewood. And what she is standing on is a bunch of cool, different pieces of wood that I have found out on adventuring. Some of it is driftwood, some of it is just cool petrified cedar, weird looking stuff that caught my attention.
This one looks like a staff or whatever.
Yeah, it was much longer. I ended up using a section of it for the RV awning. It's just cool stuff. It's dried, it's off the ground. It's just stuff that I found that eventually I would want to do some kind of project with, but I store it there. Tell them what that is.
Awesome. This actually is our very first above ground planter with split oak, measured perfectly. I don't remember if we got the level out. Same thing. He's really good at this, like Tetrising these rocks together to make a foundation that keeps the wood up off the ground. You could literally just put the wood on the ground and like throw some stuff in it, but he actually taught me that it will rot. It will eventually rot, and I don't want rotting wood and unwelcomed algae around things that I'm trying to make grow. I don't want to have to manipulate the environment very much, and so
well, the dirt, the side of the wood that is touching the dirt, that will over time eventually, the rot will eventually take us all.
Yeah.
But with it being off the ground, it will last a lot. This planter box will probably last our lifetime.
So this is another little thing, is that I do know which bulbs that I put here, but these are bulbs. I wanted this to be a garden area that is like aesthetically pleasing as well. Like people from the road can possibly see the flowers. It's a little pop of color, things like that. And I also wanted a nice little spot that whenever I'm doing my social media, sitting and chilling, taking a rest, that I go and I just am able to look at the blooms. These are things that will come back. Our niece Mina has helped us. It says summer blooms. These are bulbs that were going to bloom in the summer, but as Jared panned over this little alien creature here, these are actually like a hyacinth. No, I can't remember what they're called, but I'm obsessed with these. They're like a puffy flower, and I've always wanted them in my garden. And how awesome is it that this is the first one that is peeking through.
So I want to mention also, everything that you see growing, all the little greenery here, and then even where she's standing, all this greenery and everything that you see that is on the ground in this camp area that is green, we planted. We put it there. We spread clover and grass and native small grassy plants about, even over there in that area, in order to keep the dirt where it is, but also to draw in bugs and wildlife. And you know, you got to start growing to put nitrogen into the soil. And it's really great to see that stuff coming up, because we've been looking at brown and gray for a while, and now that the spring is here, everything's turning green again.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna hijack and go back, and we're gonna go up to the pad site.
Okay.
One last thing, from the wood camp, primitive camp, garden camp, looking down, that is our lowland area, and that is where our creek is. Eventually, we'll go over there and take a look when it's flowing really good, but as of right now, you don't get to see it.